Conscious Creative from MuseWorks Audio. The Conscious Creative is a podcast featuring interviews with artists who are doing transformational work in their craft and in their communities. Join us as we discuss different artistic philosophies, give you brand new tools to bring back to your creative spaces, and build a community of artists dedicated to deepening their relationship with their craft. I'm your host, Mike Irish. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to episode 20 of The Conscious Creative. Today we sat down and spoke with Haley Harkin, a folk medicine music artist from Austin, Texas. We spoke today about her awakening journey through the plant medicine ayahuasca, how it's affected not only her creative process, but her way of living and her overall mission in life. We spoke about surrendering to the creative process and working as a channel as opposed to trying to control everything, as well as a new single that she will be releasing shortly. I really enjoyed this conversation with Haley, and I think that there's a lot to take from it as an artist if you are maybe struggling with inspiration. And before we get into the episode, I do want to say that we talk about ayahuasca, which I have never used. I have used psychedelics in the past, and I've found them to be of tremendous benefit, not just creatively, but for my life in general. However, I do want to say that I'm not advising anybody to take this. If you want to take ayahuasca, if you want to take psychedelics, make sure you do your prior research, make sure you do them in very safe environments, and make sure you have someone looking after you who is capable of looking after you. Now, that being said, I think from our conversation with Haley, you'll be able to tell that these very powerful substances and can have a tremendous positive effect on people's lives. So I hope you listen with an open mind and an open heart, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Welcome, Haley Harkin, to The Conscious Creative. Appreciate you taking the time, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about your story and your journey and what you're working on as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. To kick things off, do you want to just fill the listeners in a bit about yourself and how music came into your life and sort of the beginnings of that journey?
Yeah, so my name's Haley Harkin. I live in Austin, and I play folk medicine music as kind of the title I've given it. Music came into my life from a really young age. My mom and grandfather would sing a lot of folk songs together. We didn't see him often. He lived in another state, but I was exposed to it. They would sing harmonies and things together. And I was in choir from a young age, on and off. And then I learned how to play guitar in high school. Definitely wasn't persistent. Many years I didn't play, and I would say the last 3 years I've played consistently and grown a lot in that time.
Yeah. Do you remember any of like the specific songs from your grandfather's singing or anything like that?
Yeah, there's he would do like Elvis Presley songs a
Okay.
lot.
Yeah.
I like Elvis, but he would make them really good. Like, obviously, when I was a child, I didn't know. I thought they were all his songs. He
Right.
also wrote songs. And there's this one.
Cool.
Yeah, there was one in particular called Death Dream. That's like a really old folk song. I've Googled it many times. You can't even find the trace of it anywhere online, but they sing it. That was one of my favorites.
Does he have any music recorded or out there or anything?
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, we live in the era where like everybody can record now and everybody has music out there, but I'm sure there's so many people from the generations prior of just incredible talent that we'll never be able to hear, unfortunately.
Definitely. There's so many people in the world and just music in general that we'll never hear because we don't know until you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of sad. So, so you said in the past couple of years you've started to um, really sort of focus on or sort of consistently work on your music and work on playing guitar. Is there anything that, like, what catalyzed you to make that shift from playing a little bit to consistently working on it?
Yeah, so yeah, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago now. I just started, or like 6 years ago, I started to awaken and become conscious. Started reading all the books, and I was doing hair at that time. And then I found plant medicine ayahuasca 4 years ago, and that's really, I had no control. It was like I went to Brazil. I was working at a salon. The day I got back, got fired. It was like everything. So my whole path in life changed, and I started calling myself a musician for the first time ever in my life, which was super hard and uncomfortable for a while. Yeah, then I started pursuing. So like a year before I found ayahuasca, I was already doing guitar classes with a local company, and so there was something in me that wanted more. I wanted to be better. It was on the back burner, but I was like, one day I'll pursue it when I have the time and all the money
Yeah.
to, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you started to feel like you started to awaken um prior to ayahuasca, like a year or two prior. Was there anything
Yes.
that was going on in your life that's began that process?
Yeah, I would say, well, I think it just it happens from within, or it's like I said, not, I believe that everyone awakens when they're supposed to, and you can't rush it, push it. No one can make that happen for you. It's already like predetermined to a point. But yeah, I was drinking a lot at that time in my life. I drank from a really young age, and I'm 25 now for reference, but yeah, so I was drinking a lot and I kept doing really stupid things. I was with my partner. We've been together since then and kind of grown, but in the restaurant industry, that's just kind of the culture. It's like you go out, get really drunk after, and like I drank a lot, really heavy when I was in cosmetology school and was clearly unhappy, and I would act out when I had been drinking, like repressed things would come to the surface. And so I stopped drinking for 2 months. And then my life just totally changed. Like I lost a lot of weight, never got it back. And I read the Four Agreements, The Alchemist, books like that. And then pretty much never drank again. Like I picked it up a couple times and I was like, I'm done. Doesn't do it for me. So yeah, it was that, having that space, and then I changed my diet. I became vegan, and so it just started opening all these areas that I was not conscious of before. Then shortly after, I found ayahuasca, so it was already started kind of cleaning for the experience prior.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a pretty similar story actually. I was drinking really heavily, and in the restaurant industry as well. And I was really trying to do the music thing, but man, it's hard enough to sit down and write a song with no hangover, like doing it after a night out just makes it even harder. And yeah, I quit drinking and started to pursue it quite a bit more consistently and seriously. So that's interesting to hear. Um, so then you found ayahuasca, and what's the story with that? Like, how did you find out about it and choose which place to go to? Um, yeah, I'd love to hear more about that because it's definitely something I'm really interested in, but I don't really know how to go about it.
Yeah, so they kind of say that she calls you, and that's really what happened. Had never heard about it until I heard about it, and I graduated cosmetology school, was working at the salon. It was kind of my dream job. And while I was working there, my teacher from cosmetology school, who I was friends with on Facebook, and we weren't friends. We were just friends on Facebook. Posted about her journey. She went to Peru and basically shared her whole experience like publicly. And she worked like she went back to like over a 2 year period, kept going back, going back. But so in that first year, I was like, I told my mom about it. I was like, have you heard about ayahuasca? And I told her, I was like, go read this woman's posts. So then it was crazy. And then I just kept that whole, like a year probably, I kept reading her stuff, was intrigued. I would have clients come in, not your typical person who you think would be doing ayahuasca. Okay. It was, a certain kind of clientele, wealthy women. Um, and yeah, it just kept popping in, the connections. And then basically my mom found somewhere, and she went for some reason. I didn't go in April 2016.
Okay.
She came back and it was a retreat. We didn't go to a different country to do it. The first time it was a retreat, in the States. And then she told me all about her experience and I was like, okay, I'm going to go the next time. So then 6 months later, they came back in November 2016 and we went 2 different workshops, to make sure that we could have our own experience, because obviously it brings up trauma and there's obviously trauma with parents and things. So, yeah. And then 3 months later, we both went to Brazil, the same group, but we went to their land in Brazil. So I work with the same people, the whole time. And yeah, then like I said, I came back. I had a dream while I was there that I got fired from my salon job. And I was like completing my apprenticeship. I'd been working there almost 2 years and was like literally months away from having the dream or whatever. And then the day I got back, I got fired. I went back to work. They fired me at the end of the day, and no
Wow.
explanation, nothing. Like I even got
No
unemployment.
way.
Yeah. Like they had no reason. Like I got unemployment, which if you had a reason to
Yeah.
fire I wouldn't get. And they literally just, so it was all divine. It was like
Wow.
crazy. Yeah.
Wow. That's so weird.
And I never would have guessed it. Like the day it happened, I remember calling all my friends that were in Brazil and I was freaking out because I had been living on a salary for 2 years. I mean, I was making very good money and I was like, what do you mean? Like that was going to be my life. And then it just, yeah. I kept trying to, I got one more job after that at a salon for 6 months and it wasn't working. Like the universe just kept saying, why are you trying to make this work? It's not what you're supposed to do. And so then I stopped doing it. Yeah. Oh, and one quick, sorry, I want to give a disclaimer before if we talk about this anymore that just I'm not, advertising this. I have a lot of respect and love for the medicine, and I say this all with good intentions, and I'm just sharing my experience. We all have very different experiences, and yeah, I respect her very much, and I have a very close relationship with her. So I say all this from that place.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Definitely. I mean, I think psychedelics in general and ayahuasca, especially from what I've heard, is, it's not psychedelics in general. I don't think are playthings, really. They should be taken with some consideration for sure,
Definitely.
and not necessarily for everybody as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Even though we may want it for everybody, yes, everyone has to come to it. It only works if you come from for
yeah.
yourself, So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'd be really curious, to hear about how that changed your creative process, your experience with ayahuasca, and or your experiences with ayahuasca. Has that changed the way you think about songwriting or think about what you want to say with your music? Um, yeah, I'd love to hear if there's sort of a before and after that you've felt.
yeah. I would say every aspect of it is 360 degrees difference, from prior. I had only written one song, and it was literally I had started it before I went to my first ceremony because I was in a songwriting class for the first time, and I completed it after. So I had never considered myself a writer ever. Like English was my worst subject. I
Really?
like hated writing. It wasn't good. I would do like I would get horrible grades, like run on sentences and just everything. So, yeah, I never thought. I was like, I'll have to cover people's music. It will never be my own, even if I get over this fear to that I could even share. Um, so yeah, previously to ayahuasca, yeah, hadn't written a song and could not play in front of anybody. I had been with my partner already 3 years, and he had heard me play like one time, and it was under the influence of alcohol that I was even able to share, and it was like, yeah, sweating, shaking voice, just like a blubbery mess, really. And yeah, I was creative, but not in this way. Yeah, in 4 years, so much has changed. And like thinking of my first time when I played in ceremony in Brazil, yeah, I had 2 songs. It'd been 3 months since my first ceremony. I had like 2 songs. And I was shaking and kept messing up, laughing, and like I'm on the medicine. It's dark, and all of it is so foreign. And it's like now, when I play in ceremony, it's like my favorite thing. It's just comes straight from the soul. There's nothing. You're just a pure vessel, and it's like I've experienced it so many times of just being a vessel, and it's so liberating and freeing and fun, and just so you feel so full. And I had never experienced that before playing music because I had so much blocking me to allow me to let go, to surrender. Because I feel like you really have to surrender to music. It's not about you. And I think musicians know that if you've been playing long enough, that it's like a bigger force and you're just the channel for it to flow through. And that's when, like Jimi Hendrix, for example, it's like someone who did a lot of psychedelics. Like, I really think he was very open to letting things just like flow through him. So now I feel like things just flow through me. I don't write the song, it just comes usually in full form. And sometimes I'll request, can I have a song about this? Or like, I want an upbeat song. So I'll just kind of put that out there, and then it'll come. Most always, maybe not right then, but it will come. Um, yeah, and I feel like so creative. Like a lot of my style, especially in ceremony, is improv. So like extending the songs, and just free flowing vocally, and it's so fun. And you really like discover what's inside of you, and you make all these noises you never thought you could make. And so every time it just expands what I think I can do. Every time I'm in ceremony, and just and the way I hear things is really different. Which Paul Simon, who's done the medicine, talks about this, and that once he did the medicine, he like writing music for him was just like boom, 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 like so quick that he heard sounds he had never heard before, and that he could manifest it like a lot quicker than prior. So yeah, because on any psychedelic, it's like our range of frequency is opened, and so you can hear higher and lower frequencies, and we're more sensitive. And I think that we actually hear music as it really is when we're on a psychedelic, because we're present. And like, when you're at a show or something, they wrap you in and they make you present, but we're not present all the time. So I don't think we actually hear what music really is, besides like a fraction of the time, because of the musician is really good at bringing in presence. Or if you're on a psychedelic and then we're like, that's what music is, because we actually hear it for the first time in all of its frequency, beauty, everything. So that's what's really open for me, is just like trying to capture that in a song. Like, can I drop into that place when I'm playing? Because that's how I'm going to be able to touch more people. It's beyond the mind, it's just being open and be like, take me. That's kind of how I approach it. Like if I have a show or anything, I just kind of like make a little prayer before it to. I don't want to be in control. It's not about Haley. It's about just being open to what's needed, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's so key for live performances, like you just said. I know that I'm someone who's struggled with live performance, and it's because now that I've had to step away from live performance for a while, I can see that it's because of my like grasping at the perfection that I want to have, and yeah, letting go. And I love what you said, just allowing what needs to be come through is really beautiful, and performing essentially out of service is really beautiful.
Totally. And I think like authenticity for me is like what is needed in this world right now. And I think people are being drawn more and more to people who are authentic, relatable, vulnerable. And I'm like the queen of messing up. Like I've messed up so many times in ceremony in front of lots of people, or I just started crying because like the music moves something in me in front of everybody. And it's like so humbling and vulnerable and like beautiful and sad at the same time, to just allow yourself to be that. Like, I'm human. I'm not a machine. I'm not perfect. And I'm sharing with you. Like, I personally don't call it a performance. Like, I know that's kind of what the industry calls it. To me, it's a sharing. I'm sharing my heart with you. And, you know, if I share my heart with you, your heart is going to feel it. Versus if I put on something called Haley and try and make it about something else. If I just want to share with you, that's much more impactful, I think, to everybody.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Um, I just wanted to pull back and just clarify a little bit because you mentioned you played in a ceremony, and you were asked by one of the leaders of the ceremony to play, right?
Yes, so yeah, people would call him a shaman. He never called himself a shaman. But the couple who leads it, yes, they knew that I had been playing, and so he asked me. He is kind of like a dad figure to me, and kind of was like, "Do you want to play?" And I was like, "I guess." You know, I'm really, really, really scared right now, but I'll try. Yeah, there comes a point in the ceremony. There's kind of like can be chaos or you know, difficulty, resistance is really what you feel in the room. And then, you know, coming towards the middle or the end, it's more celebratory. We get up and dance. Like every style is different for sure, but this one is very much about connection, community, seeing each other for like all that we are, kind of. And so we dance and celebrate, and so then that's kind of normally where he'll ask me to play, or you know, around that when the energy has kind of become more one and it's not as chaotic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's so cool. Um, now, now you've had this incredible um, period of like accelerated growth and as an artist, and really, yeah, just channeling a lot of really brand new things. And um, I'm just wondering what do you have? What's the vision look like going forward, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, you know, pre-COVID and stuff, it was like I had just scheduled my first festival to be played, you know, in 2020, and it was like, oh, okay, things are, you know, I was gonna start planning things, and now like stuff is on hold, you know, mostly. So I've done like a couple small things, but eventually I would love to be a full-time touring musician, or full-time. I say that I don't exactly know what that means, but I would like to, you know, do music as my joy, as my what supports me in life, things like that. And then create a retreat center is what my partner and I are going to do, to hold anything healing modality ceremonies with or without plant medicine. You know, music retreats, you know, far in the future or something like that, or to bring other people in who teach things like that. So really anything to create community and connection and a feeling of a sense of belonging. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to hear more about the center, if you have if you have any ideas that you want to share, or any thoughts about what it might look like.
Yeah, so I kind of am basing it off of the people who lead the ceremony in Brazil. They live in the middle of a rainforest, basically, and it's on mountains, and their land was cleared prior, but it's surrounded by forest, and there's like a community kitchen, and there's a temple, and there are cabins for people to stay in, and there's a garden. You know, they have donkeys, and they had cows at one point, and trails to go hiking and things like that. So They do like a volunteer program, or they have before, where you can come, you work on the land, and be in the community basically. So we would love to offer things like that, is that people could come stay. We would love to grow most of our own food. Like we grow a lot of food for having no yard. We have a community garden plot and things. So we love gardening and want to do that. And if people could come, help, stay for free. We want to have things on a sliding scale if possible. It's like I never want money to be a thing, to create like hierarchy. And so to have kind of like you pay what you want, kind of, something like that. And definitely a community kitchen. Like I said, yeah, meditation, yoga, really anything. Those are all things I'm interested in. And I love to do other things besides music. I love to cook, and I want to learn how to do stained glass and pottery. And so, yeah, really just anything kind of creative. I would love to incorporate that. And people could live on the land if they wanted, as long as we're able to get, we would like as many acres as possible, obviously. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah, but probably in Colorado or the Four Corners area is what we're looking at. We're really drawn to that area. We visited Colorado a few times, and it always just feels really clean and peaceful at home, and the nature there is really abundant. So
Yeah. Where's the Four Corners?
so that would be like Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, Arizona. Yeah. So they all meet right there, so you could it's quick access to all those states. Yeah.
It's a beautiful vision. Beautiful vision. Yeah.
Thanks.
Um, and do you have any like musical projects that you're working on as well? Do you have any when did you put out your last album?
I put that out, I think June. I
In
did an
June.
EP.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, your EP, and then your
Yes.
full length was.
That was 2019, June. Yeah. So you can kind of see they released a year. I mean, it wasn't, I stopped recording and then released it, but you can kind of see the progression and stuff during that time, which is kind of cool because it was so close to each other.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible that you went so quickly from having never written a song, and now you have a full length out, you have an EP out, and you have one single out, or. Yeah.
Yes. One single that I released in, I think, December. Yeah. And I have many, many songs that aren't recorded. It's hard to keep up. I try and do so those songs that all I released, the EP and the single, are kind of old at this point. And so I have so many new songs, but I try and go in that order, even though I think all musicians get really excited about the new song they're working on. And so it's like, yeah, you give that a lot of attention, but it's like these other songs I still really enjoy. And some you don't, they kind of fall away. And then I kind of know what to record or what not to record. So the next song I'm going to record is I Believe in Magic is what it's called. And that song is probably a couple years old at this point. But they all came so quickly. And when I did start recording music, I had so many already. And so kind of have to pick and choose. And it feels like right I just kind of know what I'm going to record next. I just kind of listen and
Yeah. Cool. And
yeah.
you spoke a little bit before the call about the single, and I'd love for you to share. I think it's such a cool idea on how you want to create it, and what the idea is behind it, vibe wise. I'd love to hear about it, and I'd love for you to share it.
Yeah, definitely. So it's actually on my YouTube. So if anyone's watching this and they're curious, it was recorded probably 2 years ago. So I've grown since then. And my friend Sarah, who is a dear friend of mine, is playing the violin with me. But yeah, so that's a song so you can get an idea. But yeah, the lyrics are talk about I believe in magic. Just look at nature, showing us how to be, cleansing, dying, and rebirthing, beautiful synergy. That's the chorus. And so it's very celebratory. It talks about the birds flying, to be free like the bird flying in the sky, grow like the wildflowers in spring, things like that. So in ceremony, this is kind of like their ending songs are like super high energy, so we can just like raise the energy. And so this is one of the ones I'd play at the end, and everyone's drumming along and singing and playing their flutes and saxophones, and my partner and I, like, even he was like, yes, capture that, please. He's like, when I hear that song, that's what I think of, is that moment in ceremony where it's just pure bliss. It's everyone is, like the music is moving everybody, whether they're a musician or not. They're trying to pick up something and join, like a shaker, or they're just dancing. And so this song, I really want it to be like not an orchestra, but a full representation of that as best as I can. That magic, that beauty. It's palatable in the room. Like, I can't, words don't do it justice. It's beyond that, but it creates like a twinkling energy is how I kind of think. It's just like magic is in the air, kind of. So yeah, I want flute, saxophone, drum, maybe violin. My friend Nylan, who plays like amazing soloing guitar, I want them to play. They like brought their amp to one ceremony and had all these crazy effects on it, and we were like, whoa, like when they would play the notes. It
Yeah.
was crazy. So yeah, I'm trying to capture all that, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so kind of like psychedelic, like the cover is going to be like a psychedelic image, but with a real picture, kind of combine like cartoon with real life is what I'm envisioning. Yeah, we'll see. It's always interesting, your ideas, and then to see how it actually turns out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds really, really cool, and I definitely look forward to checking it out when it comes out, and I'll check out the one on YouTube as well. Um, yeah, I just have one question before we wrap it up, and yeah, I'd love to hear what impact you want to leave in the world with your creativity.
Yeah, I would like to touch as many people as possible for sure. Joy, beauty, divine love, unconditional love. And I definitely feel like I do that in ceremonies. Like, we're all very open, so it's easy, but it's harder in the world that isn't present. And like my kind of music is kind of like an off genre, it's not everyone is looking for it, but I also trust that whoever it's supposed to reach, it will reach. And like, however that happens, just trusting that. So yeah, really just, yeah, beauty, joy, love, connection, hopefully some healing. Yeah, just a speck in the grand scheme of everything. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Just before we head out, where can people find you online and all that stuff?
Yeah, so Haley Harkin everywhere, like Spotify, iTunes, things like that. Instagram, Haley Harkin. And I also have a Patreon page, so that's just for music that I created a couple months ago. So it's really cheap, a couple dollars a month. You can kind of pick which one. But I do new and unreleased songs on there with chords and lyrics and just other kind of musings in my life, that aren't like ready to be shared yet. So that's kind of like the first access is there. And that's just Haley Harkin on Patreon.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Haley. It was really a pleasure to chat and to hear everything. Is really inspiring, and I look forward to where you go in the next few years. Again, I want to say thank you to Haley for taking the time to have this conversation, to be so open, and to share all of her thoughts. And this is one of my sort of main takeaways from the interview, that I'm kind of wrestling with this in my own life right now, is this concept of work ethic versus divine inspiration, I guess you could say. And in my past, I've often gripped very tight on work ethic and relied very little on inspiration. And I'm not sure if that's the right way to go about it. And it was really interesting listening to Haley talk about how she just asks for songs and is open to receiving them. And I think that it's something worth pondering for yourself if you are maybe in a little bit of a rut creatively, or you're struggling with writing, or painting or whatever your creative endeavor may be. So sometimes I think that you have to pull yourself away from your creative space a little bit. Go for a walk in the woods. I'm not saying that you have to do ayahuasca, but maybe go for a walk in the woods and just relax and ease that tension and allow yourself to receive things as opposed to gripping and searching and tightening around something that you want to create. You never know, it might just be the thing that pushes you into the next stage of your creative process. So, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you are enjoying the podcast, please share it on social media. Send me an email if you want to discuss anything. I love talking about creativity, which is obviously why I started a podcast doing it. And other than that, thank you for listening, and look forward to the next episode. And until then, take care.